We'll kick it off. Welcome to our first Access to Text for 2023. Today, we will have myself, of course, Head of Solutions here at Access 4. We'll have David Winbacks, our Lead Product Manager within the product team, and Mitch Davis, our Solutions Consultant, which I'm sure a lot of you know. So what are we discussing today? So today, we're going to talk about call queues and some benefits of what to do with those, some differences between hunt groups and call queues. We're going to talk about login management of SASBOSS and how to manage your logins, of course, within SASBOSS, funnily enough. We're going to talk about the SMS Gateway, which is one of the newer products that we are releasing. And we're going to talk about our group technical training, which we've been talking about for a little bit, but now we've got it integrated into Strive. We can start getting you to enroll and start getting into the courses. So we'll start off with call queues and I'll hand over to Mitch.
Yeah, thanks for that. So just to start off a little bit, we've talked a bit about call queues in the past, integrations into things like CRMs, into reporting, all that. Today, we're going to talk about more when to use the different kinds of call queues, when to use a hunt group versus a call queue, and the main differences we have there, as well as a little bit about omnichannel product as well. So a few different aspects on that one. So some of the more common questions we get asked from a solutions perspective is, as you can see on the screen there, so what happens when people are on the phone? When a call comes in, the main reason why you would look at upgrading to a hunt group, to a call queue from a hunt group would be on a hunt group, you're just going to get a busy tone, or it's going to get a voicemail, or it's going to send it off somewhere else. Call queue, your customers are getting that advanced functionality, mainly being they're being placed in the queue, they're getting that welcome message, the on-hold music, and your customers can start using that for analytics into what's going on. They can be able to give the customer a chance to be called back, or they could start playing additional advertising on that perspective as well. So a few different things from that perspective. What happens when an employee can't take the call? So with a hunt group, it's just going to keep ringing. If it's going to ring someone else in the office, something like along those lines. With a call queue, a lot more functionality. It's going to play on hold music to that customer. They're going to just hear something else along the lines of being that advertisements, being the on hold music, those messages being your call is important to us, all of those kinds of things. And there's no limit to how long a customer could be in that stage. If the customer wants to be in that stage, if your customer wants their callers to be in that stage for an hour, we can do that for you. Wouldn't recommend it, of course, but we can provide that kind of functionality. And then, can calls be queued? Of course, that's the point of a call queue. So from that perspective, it could be as few as 1 or 2 people in the queue at a time. If you only want it to be a very small call queue, all the way up to 525. If you've got a really busy call center from that perspective, you want to take and receive a lot of calls, we can provide that for your customers as well. Being able to monitor if employees taking calls, of course, that's the point of a call queue, being able to monitor and manage what's going on from that perspective. So you can report on who's answering the most calls, how long were they available during the day, how many did they reject coming in. So lots of that kind of functionality, and that goes into the reporting as well. So how many calls came in, what was your average speed to answer, those kinds of functionality. So that's where you really need to start looking at whether your customer wants just a hunt group or should we upgrade them to a call queue. So a lot of different advanced functionality from that perspective. And from within there as well, we do have 4 different kinds of call queues in our platform. Basic call queues is a really basic functionality from that side. Think of it more like a hunt group and then adding the queuing functionality onto it. So you're always in there, can be ringing a few different people at once, that kind of functionality. Enhanced call queues, then add additional functionality on top of that, things like ACD status. So I'm out to lunch, I don't want to receive calls right now, being able to change that status. Premium as then more for complex call flows on top of that. So this is when you need your supervisors to be able to start managing what's going on with your call queues. Unavailable codes. So rather than just putting myself as busy, do I need to start reporting on how long I'm at lunch for, how long I'm going into training for, that kind of functionality, as well as outbound calling. So you may want to be calling out as a number that's applied to a call queue, not just your standard advertised business number from that perspective. So additional functionality from that side. We do also have our omnichannel contact center platform as well. So that's our UJET platform. And this is not just calling built into this. This is when you start bringing in additional aspects into that, whether that's SMS and WhatsApp, being able to do virtual agents, both on the phone and via chat, and then web chat as well. So implementing it built into your websites. So a lot more additional functionality from that perspective. And as well with the UJET, all built into the CRM. So it's not just, can we integrate with the CRM? We really do push that integration piece and making it work in there. So that's your source of truth for the customer's information and that kind of details. So it really comes down to what kind of level of integration your customer needs and what kind of functionality they need is based on what kind of call queue type they should go for. So back on the three main ones, and this is all managed through SASBOSS, of course. So all that kind of functionality. So with a basic call queue, capacity of 25 calls per queue. So quite limited on that side, but 25 is probably enough for most call queues from our perspective. And the agent's always in the queue. So there's no changing your ACD status or anything like that. You're just always going to be available to accept those calls. Jumping up to the enhanced call queue, that jumps to 50 calls per queue, which is a lot from that perspective. If you're receiving a lot, 50 calls at once into your business, you're probably doing a lot of business from that perspective. And it's probably a quite large call center as well. And your agents can sign in and out of the queues. They can set themselves as unavailable when they don't need to take calls. And you'll of course wrap up codes as well. So if you're taking a call, you've hung up, you need that chance to finish taking your notes, save the ticket you're working on, anything like that, and finish that up before you receive that next call, rather than just being available to take that next call straight away. On top of that as well is functionality when an agent misses a call. You probably don't want them, if they've missed a call, it's probably a reason why. They may not be at their desk. You may not want them receiving the next call again because it's just going to bounce off them again. So we can force sign out that agent from that perspective. And then we've also got a basic reporting built in around that as well. So how many times someone's missed calls, all that kind of functionality. And then the main other piece there is stranded. So stranded is something that comes up a lot. You have 10 agents signed into your queue, hits 5 o'clock, they all sign out. You still have calls in that queue. What do you want to happen to those calls? You probably don't want them just sitting there and hearing on hold music and advertisements until they hang up. It's a bad experience from that perspective. So we can route those calls, whether it's to a night service somewhere, whether it's to someone's mobile or to voicemail, anything like that. So we can start doing that routing from that perspective once the agents log out. It's taking the step up again from there into our premium call queues. So really detailed advanced functionality here. So it can announce the queue name to the caller, to the recipient of the call. So which call queue they're receiving from. If they're taking it from multiple calls, where's that coming from? Being able to, so campaign management, so being able to manage which call queues are coming in from if you're managing from multiple call queues, being able to assign individual DIDs to multiple DIDs to one call queue and reporting on those individually from that perspective. Supervisors being able to listen in on calls. So if you are doing training or something like that from that perspective, having your supervisor not just, and it's also really big when working remotely nowadays as well, trusting your support teams to work remotely or your call center teams to work remotely is one thing, but you may not always know exactly what they're saying and making sure they're saying the right thing. So having that supervisor being able to silently listen into the call and making sure that they are saying the right thing, they're not being rude to the end customers, those kinds of things can be done on that level as well. And then call center codes. So being able to report on once a call closed off, was it successful? Did they need to call back? All that kind of functionality can be reported on as well. And of course, that's when we start getting our day, night, holiday schedules routing automatically in there as well. So not just using time of day schedules, really detailed from that perspective, and skill-based routing. So do you have an agent who's more, is more likely to take your first level calls? So you have a first level team and a second level team. They're all logged into the same queue, but your first level team will answer the calls before the second level team. So being able to weight your agents within that as well. So lots of functionality built into all three of those call queues, and what type is really where it comes down to the questions that we get asked. So just trying to make this a bit easier for partners to understand from that perspective, what kind of call queue, what functionality comes into where from our side. A good example of this for a basic call queue, something like a reception. They probably most of the time going to be in the call queue, except for maybe lunch times or something like that, where you put in a time of day schedule to route it somewhere else. So if someone calls in, they're going to hear that welcome message, all that kind of functionality. They're hearing on hold music until the receptionist is available to answer that call. They may be stepping away from the desk occasionally, so they may not always answer it straight away. So giving them that advanced functionality rather than ringing on the reception and then hanging up or something or going to voicemail straight away. So putting a bit more functionality into it from that perspective. Next one up is our enhanced call queue. So this could be something more useful for sales teams where your agents are recepting calls a lot of the time. They can, if they're going into a meeting, they can put themselves unavailable. So they stop receiving those calls while they're in the meeting. You can still route those calls to voicemail when the sales team's closed or any of that kind of thing as well. So still being able to do that kind of routing. And then you've also got your sales manager who may want to manage what's going on with the team. If they've got sales agents who are logging out, who forgot to log out, they can manage that. They can see all the calls which are offered. And then they may want to take a call themselves. They can still do that as well. So a bit more functionality from that perspective. And then finally, we've got our premium call queue. So this could be something more like a service desk where you may have multiple inbound lines for different customers coming inbound. So you want to know which customer's calling in, you can get that applied. The agent can know which customer's coming in or which state it's coming in from that perspective. The agent may also need to call out of some of those different DIDs as well. So being able to apply that to that from that perspective, get additional functionality from there. And then your supervisor, once again, being able to manage what's going on with the agents, signing them in and out, all of that kind of functionality. So lots of different slides from that. It really comes down to what the end customer wants their team to be able to do. Do they want them always being in there to accept those calls, or they need to start reporting on how many calls are coming in from different customers and that kind of thing as well. So lots of different sides to this. We also have a document on the PRC as well, and this goes through these details, all of the functionality of all three call queues and where they fit. So I do also recommend checking that out as well when going through this and having that conversation. And if you have a more detailed conversation, feel free to reach out to your solution consultant around this kind of thing as well. Next thing we're going to be discussing today is login and management for SASBOSS. So this is something that comes up occasionally. From this side, we've changed a few processes late last year around security of login management, but we also thought that beginning of the new year could be a good chance to audit who's logging in. So if you've given your customers logins, maybe they may have left or what's going on. So being a refresher from that perspective as well. So first of all, customer level logins. So we get asked a lot. Yes, you can get your customer a login into the platform. Few different levels of logins into this side. Enterprise management or an enterprise admin. So they will be able to see everything that's going on for that customer from our side. They can create services if you wish. They can update user services, reset passwords, reassign and update DIDs from our side, if you wish them to have that access. If you wish, they can also just have read-only access. They can't modify anything, but they can at least look in and see what's going on our side. They can make sure that so-and-so does actually in fact have a login, and here's their user ID and here's their phone number. So they can do that kind of thing as well. So this is really useful if your customer has their own IT team and they want to be able to start managing that kind of thing themselves. As well as if you want them to be able to modify, but not create as well, you can lock that down. So you can make that change to their system as well if you want them just to be able to modify and not turn on new services. Group admin is a little bit same as the enterprise admin, except on a group level. So it could be a specific site or that sub-organization. So instead of being able to manage everyone inside the organization, they may only want to be able to manage just their IT team, for instance. You have an IT manager, they want to be able to manage that team. So from that perspective, you create them a group login, all their users are in there, their core queues in there, and that way they're just managing their team from that perspective. So they can still create new users, they can still assign the IDs, reset passwords, all that kind of thing, but it's limited to that group of users from that perspective. So really useful if you have those site admins only who only need to reset passwords, or that department manager who just needs to manage their team. Being able to do it that way rather than just giving them access to absolutely everything, and from our side as well. So two different ways that you can do that. And we do recommend at this stage using Now as a way of, if you haven't already, give your customers may be asking for this access, reaching out to them, providing this to them now, Also, B, if you've already given them this access, now's a good chance to, if it's a shared account, resetting those passwords. We never recommend shared accounts, but it does happen. Resetting those passwords if they are, and as well as making sure that if someone's left the organization, make sure that that account's disabled. You don't want them still having that access to be able to modify phone systems from that perspective as well. So a few things to check out on that perspective. The other one, of course, is reseller policies. So from our side, we do have a range of policies, and this is for yourselves and your staff internally for what's being accessed. So this range is everything from your sysadmin or your reseller super admin, who can do absolutely everything for you on a reseller level inside your system. They can create everyone's logins, they can do all the product stuff, billing stuff, everything inside the system. All the way down to something like a help desk role, which can manage enterprises, they can manage groups, they can modify permissions. They can't turn on services from that perspective. They can't make billing changes from that perspective. So more of a help desk role, you don't want them to be able to make major changes from that side. So now is also a good chance to make sure that people have the right permissions. They're not overstepping what they're meant to have as well. So once again, this is a new policy. We've provided a new document on our PRC around what's going on with these permissions, what's recommended for what level, and just making sure that people have the right policies from that side. Making sure that, that people don't have more permissions than they need, or vice versa. Make sure people do have the right permissions that they need from our side as well. We have made a slight change at the end towards the end of last year around what happens when people aren't logging into our system. So used to be everyone just had access until they were disabled by someone internally within your organization. We've modified that a little bit. So we now have an inactive user policy. We launched this towards the end of last year. You may have seen some notifications sent out about this, but it's making sure that if someone's not logging into SASBOSS, they don't keep that access until forever. So it could be someone who's left your organization, something along those lines. So if they haven't logged in for more than 2 months, they send an initial email saying, hey, you haven't logged in, do you still need access? They get another email a month after that, so 3 months total of activity, at which point, if they don't log in, they will be suspended. So suspended accounts can't log into SASBOSS, they're limited to what they can from that perspective. That if they, once again, if they do try and log in, they will just be prompted saying who to speak to from your organization to get reactivated. They haven't logged in for 180 days, the account's actually deactivated entirely. So from that side, if they do need to log in again, then they have to reach out to yourself, whoever your super admin is from your side, or if they speak to someone else inside the organization, they can reach out to us, but we do need to do a few checks on our side to make sure that they do still require that access. So it is usually best to speak to your super admin internally, or whoever primarily manages your SASBOSS accounts, and get them to reactivate that user. So this is now fully automated inside our system. If you don't log in for a while, you may still start noticing these prompts coming through. So be aware that this is now a policy that has been in place. And if you once again, if you're not logged in 180 days, so quite a few months there, your account will be deactivated from our system. So it can always be reactivated, but we don't. That's a bit more security around who has long-term control into the portal from our side. Yep, all good. Yep, just checking one thing. Handing over to Dave and our SMS Gateway.
Thanks, Mitch. Really appreciate that. Welcome everyone, and really excited to be presenting around SMS Gateway. It's been in the backlog for a little while, and we've been able to now develop that and will soon be released to market. So we wanted to give you a bit of a heads up on what SMS Gateway is and what are the things that make it important and special. So basically, we'll be releasing SMS Gateway into SASBOSS. You'll be able to manage SMS Gateway through SASBOSS. The interface will look very similar to what you're used to. You'll be able to basically manage all of the lists and be able to send SMSs out to the contact list that you upload. You'll be able to get reports as well. as well as track all of the delivery of those SMSs. We'll also provide MMS access, and you'll be able to set up responses for SMSs as well. So you'll be able to use SMS as a part of an automation workflow. You'll also be able to segment the lists and schedule campaigns to go out at particular times. So there's some of the features that are available. I guess SMS is being used for a lot of different things. So anything from alerts and two-factor authentication to marketing campaigns. And because of their immediacy, and people tend to open SMSs a lot quicker and easier than they do email campaigns, that's why they're so popular. So we're really excited to be able to launch this product to you. So just to go on and show you a little bit about what the interface will look like in SASBOSS. So here you can see what the interface looks like when you're sending out an SMS. So you'll be able to upload lists. You'll be able to select from whatever contact lists. You'll be able to nominate a sender ID. So that is basically two options. There's the ability to send from a shared number, or you can have a dedicated virtual number that you can purchase, and there's a rental fee associated with that. And then all of those campaigns can go out from a particular number if you wanted to track campaigns from a particular number, or you wanted that number to be familiar to those people who you're sending to. Then there's a space, obviously, to write the message. The opt-out reply stop is automatically there as part of the spam protection. You'll be able to add sort of quick sort of field tags, such as first name, so you can put that into your message, and you can see basically the character limit for SMS. If you go over the character limit, it can basically split that out into multiple SMSs per send. You'll be able to also have track links, so you can basically put a URL in there that's trackable, which is very popular for campaigns. So to send out an SMS and drive people to a website for things like sales campaigns, etc., especially in the retail markets. So that's available. You can set up templates, so you can save SMSs as templates and use them in upcoming campaigns. And then you can basically schedule the sending of the SMS. So if you want to delay the sending of it, not send it immediately, you can set a schedule on when that's going to go out in the future. And then you can basically have a pending message expiry. So with that, if there isn't a response received that it's been opened, the message will expire after a certain time. So yeah, that's sending. When someone replies to an SMS, you can have some reply options. So they can be to forward to an email, forward to a mobile, forward to a URL. You can basically set up an auto response. So if they reply to the SMS, they get another SMS, and you can delay that SMS by a certain time frame. So there's first message and second message, etc. So quite feature rich in terms of what SMS gateways offer. We'll be providing most of these features at launch. There'll be some features that are delayed slightly just because they're taking a little longer to develop, but most of the comprehensive features will be available at launch. So we're definitely looking forward to it. So moving on to the use cases, what can you, who can benefit from SMS? So definitely appointment reminders are very popular these days and became very popular during the pandemic. You can do education notifications. You can do warnings and alerts. So if there's a system outage or something, you can set up warning alerts to go out for via SMS. You can provide feedbacks and surveys, but obviously the big use for SMS is around marketing. So there'll be lots of customers that are looking to incorporate SMS into their marketing campaigns, etc. So there'll be lots of education as we come up to launch, but we wanted to give you a heads up today and give you a bit of an overview of what to look out for when SMS Gateway is released. So we look forward to that coming to the market, and obviously, if you do have any questions, any knowledge gaps, please reach out to the product team after launch as well. So thanks again for inviting me to Access the Text. My first time today, so appreciate coming along and listening as well. So very informative session for Mitch and John. So thank you very much.
Thanks, David. Thanks for all the stuff around SMS, and to Mitch as well around the contact center queues and also the logins for SASBOSS. So just wanted to give you a quick update on the group technical training. So we've been working pretty hard in the background to get some group technical training up and running. So at this stage, we've got the UCAS associate course ready to go. So we've been piloting it for probably about 3 months now with quite a few partners. We've done that internally, then to partners. And it's not cooking. And what that means is that we've now been able to incorporate it into Strive. Now you can enroll through Strive in the technical training course. We have called it UCAS Associate on Strive. So you'll be able to click into there. There are some prerequisites, which are the Cloud Voice product suite, porting essentials, and help and support. For those of you who've been with us for a long time and used Strive in the past, you'll have probably completed those a while ago. So what will happen then is you'll have at the bottom the ability to enroll in the course. So probably about an hour after this session, we'll get that all up, put into the catalog, and you'll be able to enroll into that from here. We are running sessions every 2 weeks. There'll be 10 places per session. We're planning to run it the first week of the month and the third week of the month. So the first week of the month will be Eastern Standard Time at 9 o'clock. The third week of the month will be to cater for the Perth contingent, and that will start at 12 o'clock. That doesn't mean that if you're in the Eastern States or in New Zealand, you can't join. It just means that it will start at 12 o'clock. Also with the first week one where it starts at 9 o'clock, if you're in Perth and want to get up at 6 or 7 o'clock in the morning, feel free. We're really happy to have you, but I'm pretty sure you'd prefer the third week where you're able to do it at 9 o'clock in the morning. They are 2 3-hour sessions across 2 days virtually. So in pretty much every case, if it's a Tuesday and a Wednesday, that may change, but we are holding to that as much as possible. So it's, outside of any potential rollouts or anything that you need to do. So that sort of, they're generally the 2 days that we find that most people aren't doing rollouts. So we've got MS Teams Basic currently in pilot. So we are piloting it internally this week on Friday. So we will be looking for participants probably in the next few weeks to sort of roll that out to the partner base and start piloting that ourselves. Once we're happy that we've finished piloting that and we're ready to go, we will get that into Strive, very similar to how we've got the SASBOSS Basic side of things. So other considerations that we've got for future group technical training. So we've got Advanced SASBOSS, which is the Advanced UCAS course. So talking about the broad works and side of the equation from the product suite. We will have Advanced Teams. So we'll build a higher end Teams product, which will incorporate the enhanced products and all the things that you need to be able to do with that Teams side of things. That will rely on the basic UCAS associate course that's just been mentioned previously, and also the basic Teams course to be able to complete that course when you get to it. So they will be the 2 prerequisites. We are also working on troubleshooting basic and advanced. So we'll have a troubleshooting course that will sit in the basic tier, which will sit in sort of the advanced course section, and the advanced troubleshooting will sit more in the expert side of things. We're also working on an iCall Suite training course as well to help all of you bring iCall Suite on board from a partner, client, training and warboard perspective. So that's all on the technical training side of things. Next is Access the Text on the road. So a lot of you will probably have seen an email come out from our marketing team, which may have had my name on it, I can't remember. We're going to have technical sessions just for you. Now, we ran these in our last roadshow suite late last year in October, and we had one in Sydney and in Melbourne, and they went really, really well. So we're quite happy to present these to you for each of the roadshows that's going on in March and April in Auckland. So we are looking at having staff. Mitch will be in Adelaide, Perth, Brisbane, Sydney, Melbourne and Auckland over the course of the roadshows. They will start at approximately 12:30, 1 o'clock in the afternoon, so about 3 to 4:30 in the afternoon, and then we'll roll on and go to the roadshow if you want to register for that. So I really recommend registering for them because we are really putting in a lot of information around UC Express, the provisioning tool that we're bringing out, and a few other things that we've got through the things of TAC updates and some other stuff that's going on within the business. And we really want to run through ideas portals and other stuff.
We're also going to have some of our senior management team from a technical side. So depending on which session, that could be either Anne or Saj, our development director, or Stan, our technical director, coming along to those sessions as well. So it'll be a really good chance to meet them and ask them questions and feedback as well.
Yes, so the QR code there will take you to the registration page to be able to register for the Access to Text on the Road. So I'll leave that for another 20 seconds and then I'll flick over to the next slide. But we're really excited to bring these to you. So we want as many people to register as possible, mate. Fill the room, so we've got no room left. All right, I'm going to click over now. So the next one is the roadshows. So we've got the normal Access 4 roadshows, which will be hosted at night. And they are again in each of the states on the same day as the Access to Text on the Road, but they'll be starting at about 5:30 in the afternoon and continuing on until late at night. There will be drinks and food served, but there will also be a lot of discussion around the new products that we're bringing to market. Tim will be talking, and our head of product will be talking about all of the products that are coming on and going from there. The QR code on the left-hand side there, again, is to be able to register for the roadshow. So please, I'll give you a bit of time to scan that QR code and hopefully register for the roadshow. So it doesn't appear that we have any questions. If anyone wants to ask any questions, the next slide is the questions slide, which I'll slide to in a second. So slide across to that. So any questions, I'll wait for half a minute to a minute just to see if anyone has a chance to ask any questions that are burning from any of the information from today, or any questions that they might have about the roadshows or Access to Text on the Road, or even SMS Gateway while we've got David here. If not, we'll sign off.
No, I think we're all good.
No, we've got a question.
Quick question for you, David. When is potential release for SMS Gateway and pricing to be released to partners?
Yeah, so there'll be all of that information available at the roadshow. So definitely come along to the roadshow and we'll share a little bit about pricing and release dates, and all of that kind of stuff will be really designed to be shared with you at those roadshows. So definitely come along and get update on SMS Gateway, but a whole lot of other stuff that we're releasing around provisioning and all kinds of stuff. So definitely come along.
On top of that as well, with what David's saying, yeah, we will be doing a bit more of a tech deep dive in the Access to Text on the Road for each of the products that we are releasing. So you'll get to see a lot more of those at those sessions. Correct.
That's all we got.
Yeah.
How do we get the shirt you're wearing? Come to the roadshows.
Come to the roadshows, yeah. Well, the one John's wearing it well, I believe.
Yes, so the training that we are talking about, which is being put in Strive, is the solution building basics that you may have sat through with either myself or Brian in the past. It is the same training course. We've just rebranded it slightly and now being entirely run through Strive.
Yes. And once the Teams one comes up, we will release that through Strive as well, but we will announce when we do that. Any more questions, guys?
No, I think we're all good.
All right, well, thank you very much for joining us. It's been a great session. Thank you for all the questions. If you have any more questions, of course, reach out to your PGM or your solution consultant, or reach out to myself. Happy to answer any questions that come up. But thank you all for joining us again.